When the doctor told me I had less than 24 hours to live, I expected my husband to break down, to cry, to hold my hand and tell me he loved me. But he didn't. He smiled. It was small, subtle, but I saw it. A flicker of relief in his eyes, a lightness in his shoulders, like a weight had just been lifted. I lay there in that hospital bed, machines beeping around me, my body failing, and I watched the man I'd loved for 18 years smile at the news of my death. In that moment, everything became clear. Every late night, every business trip, every "I'm fine, just tired," all of it made sense. He wasn't grieving, he was waiting. And I realized I had one choice left. I could die quietly, let him walk away with everything, let him win, or I could use the few hours I had left to make sure the truth came out. So I turned to the nurse standing by my bedside. I motioned for her to come closer, and I whispered 6 words that would change everything. Please do exactly what I say. My name is Eleanor. Eleanor Mitchell. I'm 52 years old, and I lived, in a small town just outside of Portland, Oregon. For the past 18 years, I was married to a man named Greg. We met at a charity fundraiser when I was 34. I was a nurse at the local hospital. He was a real estate developer, charming and successful. He swept me off my feet. Within a year, we were married. Within 2, we had a beautiful home with a view of the mountains and a life that looked perfect from the outside. Greg was 15 years younger than me, 37 when we met. I knew people talked. I could see the looks when we went out together, the whispers. What does he see in her? She's older. It won't last. But I didn't care. He said he loved me. He said age didn't matter. He said I was the most interesting woman he'd ever met. And I believed him, because when you love someone, you want to believe the best in them. We didn't have children. I couldn't. A medical condition I'd had since my 20s made pregnancy impossible. Greg said it didn't matter. He said he didn't need kids. He just needed me. And for a long time, I thought that was true. We traveled. We built a life. We hosted dinner parties and went hiking on weekends. We laughed. We talked. We seemed happy. But about 5 years ago, things started to change. Greg became distant. He worked longer hours. He traveled more for business. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped touching me the way he used to. When I'd try to talk to him, he'd say he was stressed, that the market was tough, that he just needed time. So I gave him time. I gave him space. I tried to be understanding. I told myself it was just a phase, that every marriage goes through rough patches. Then, about 2 years ago, I started getting sick. It started small: fatigue, headaches, dizziness. I thought it was just stress, long shifts at the hospital, getting older. But it got worse. I started losing weight. I had trouble breathing. My hands would shake. I went to the doctor. They ran tests, and then more tests, and then they found it. Stage 4 lung cancer. Aggressive. Inoperable. Spreading fast. I'd never smoked a day in my life. I'd always been healthy, active. It didn't make sense. But cancer doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't care about your plans or your life or the people who love you. It just takes. When I told Greg, he went pale. He held me. He said all the right things. "We'll fight this. We'll get the best doctors. You're going to be okay." But something felt off. His hug was stiff. His words felt rehearsed. And when he pulled away, I saw something in his eyes I couldn't quite name. Not sadness, not fear. Something else. Something colder. Over the next year and a half, I went through treatment: chemotherapy, radiation, clinical trials. Nothing worked. My cancer kept spreading. My body kept failing. And through it all, Greg became more and more absent. He'd miss appointments, forget to pick up my prescriptions, stay late at work. When I needed him most, he wasn't there, and when he was, he felt like a stranger. I started noticing other things too. Charges on our credit card I didn't recognize, expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to, hotel stays in cities he claimed were for work. I wanted to confront him, but I was so tired, so weak, and part of me didn't want to know, because knowing would mean facing the truth, and the truth would break me. 3 weeks ago, my condition took a turn. I collapsed at home. Greg called an ambulance. They rushed me to the hospital. The same hospital where I'd worked for 20 years. The same halls I'd walked. The same people I'd cared for. But now I was the patient, and the prognosis was clear. Days, maybe a week. My body was shutting down. Greg stayed by my side that first night. He held my hand. He stroked my hair. But his phone kept buzzing. He kept checking it. And when he thought I was asleep, I heard him step into the hallway and make a call. His voice was low, careful, but I heard enough. It won't be long now, just a few more days. Then we can be together. I promise. I didn't know who he was talking to, but I knew it wasn't about me. It was about after me, about what came next, about a life he was already planning without me in it. That's when I realized he wasn't sad I was dying. He was relieved. And I had been so blind. The next few days in that hospital bed were the loneliest of my life. Greg would visit for an hour or two, sit by my bedside with his phone in his hand, make small talk, and then leave. He'd tell me he had meetings, calls he couldn't miss, things to take care of at home. But I knew better now. I knew where he was going. Or at least, I knew he wasn't coming back because he wanted to be with me. The nurses were kind. Many of them had worked with me over the years. They knew me. They cared. One of them, a young woman named Sarah, had been my student years ago when I used to mentor new nurses. She'd stay a little longer during her rounds. She'd hold my hand, she'd ask if I needed anything, and one night, when Greg had left early again, she sat down beside me. "Eleanor," she said gently, "are you okay? I mean, beyond the obvious." I looked at her, and for the first time I let myself say it out loud. "I think my husband is having an affair." Her face didn't show surprise, just sadness. "I'm so sorry." I heard him on the phone, talking about waiting, about being together soon, and the way he looks at me now, it's like he's already said goodbye. Sarah squeezed my hand. "Do you want me to talk to him, or do you want to confront him?" I shook my head. "What's the point? I'm dying. Even if he admitted it, what would change? I don't have the strength to fight anymore." She didn't argue. She just sat with me. And when she left, I felt even more alone. The next morning, Greg came in with coffee. He looked tired, distracted. He sat down and scrolled through his phone while I lay there watching him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask him who she was, how long it had been, if he'd ever really loved me. But I stayed silent, because part of me was afraid of the answer. Then, 2 days ago, the doctor came in with the final update. Dr. Patel, a kind man I'd known for years. He looked at me with sympathy and said the words I'd been dreading. "Eleanor, your organs are starting to fail. We can keep you comfortable, but there's nothing more we can do medically. I'd estimate you have less than 24 hours. I nodded. I'd known it was coming, but hearing it out loud made it real. Final. Greg was standing by the window. I watched him as the doctor spoke, and that's when I saw it. The smile. It was brief, a small upturn of his lips, a flash of something that looked like relief. He caught himself quickly and turned his expression into something more appropriate, but I'd seen it, and it shattered whatever was left of my heart. Dr. Patel squeezed my hand. I'm so sorry, Eleanor. We'll make sure you're comfortable. If there's anything you need, anything at all, just let us know. I thanked him. He left, and Greg walked over to my bedside. He took my hand. I'm here, he said softly. I'm not going anywhere. But even as he said it, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I saw the name on the screen. Jenna. Jenna. I didn't know a Jenna, but now I knew her name. Greg silenced the phone and put it in his pocket. He should probably make a few calls, he said. Let people know. Your sister, some friends. Sure, I whispered. He kissed my forehead. It felt empty, mechanical, and then he left. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. I was dying, and the man I'd spent 18 years loving was counting down the hours until I was gone, so he could be with someone else. I thought about all the times I'd defended him, all the times I'd ignored the signs, all the times I'd convinced myself I was enough. But I wasn't enough. I never had been. And then something shifted inside me, a spark of anger, of clarity. I wasn't going to let him walk away clean. I wasn't going to let him inherit everything I'd worked for, everything I'd saved, and start a new life with her like I never existed. I had hours left, maybe less, but I was going to use them. I pressed the call button. A few moments later, Sarah walked in. Hey, Eleanor, what do you need? I looked at her, and I made a decision. I need you to do something for me, something important, and I need you to trust me. She sat down, concerned. Of course, what is it? I took a breath. I need you to help me change my will, and I need you to witness it, legally. Her eyes widened. Eleanor, are you sure? That's a big... I'm sure, I said firmly. I don't have much time, and I need to make sure my husband doesn't get a single thing. She hesitated. Then she nodded. Okay, tell me what you need. Sarah pulled a chair close to my bedside. Her face was serious now, focused. Okay, Eleanor, walk me through this. What do you want to do? I took a slow breath. My body was weak, but my mind was clear, clearer than it had been in months. I have assets, I said quietly. The house is in both our names, but I inherited money from my parents years ago. It's in a separate account. About $400,000. Greg doesn't know the exact amount. I also have a life insurance policy, $500,000. He's currently listed as the sole beneficiary. Sarah's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't interrupt. I want to change everything, I continued. I want the money from my parents to go to charity, the children's hospital here in Portland, and I want the life insurance to go to my sister, Anne. She's struggled financially for years, and I know she'll use it well. I don't want Greg to get a cent. Eleanor, Sarah said carefully, are you absolutely sure? This is a huge decision. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I said. He's been waiting for me to die so he can be with someone else. I heard him. I saw the way he smiled when the doctor said I had hours left. He doesn't deserve to benefit from my death. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay, but we need to do this properly, legally. Otherwise, he could contest it. I know, I said. That's why I need your help. Can you get me a lawyer, someone who can come here now? She checked her watch. It's almost 8 at night. But let me make some calls. I know someone, a friend from church. She's an estate attorney. If I explain the situation, she might come. Please, I whispered. I don't have much time. Sarah squeezed my hand and left the room. I lay there, my heart pounding despite my failing body. I felt a strange mix of fear and determination. I was about to do something that would change everything, and there was no going back. 20 minutes later, Sarah returned with a woman in her mid-40s. She wore jeans and a sweater. Clearly, she'd been home when Sarah called. She had kind eyes and a calm presence. Eleanor, this is my friend, Lisa Brennan. She's an estate attorney. I explained the situation, and she's willing to help. Lisa approached my bed and extended her hand gently. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Sarah told me you want to make some changes to your estate plan. Is that correct? Yes, and I need it done tonight. I don't have much time. Lisa nodded. I understand. I need to ask you a few questions first to make sure you're of sound mind and that this is your true wish. Is that okay? Yes. She pulled out a small notepad. Are you currently on any medications that might impair your judgment or cognitive ability? Pain medication, yes, but I'm lucid. I know exactly what I'm doing. Good. And is anyone pressuring you to make these changes? Your husband? A family member? Anyone? No, this is entirely my decision. And you understand that by removing your husband as a beneficiary, he will not receive the life insurance payout or access to your separate assets upon your death? Yes, that's exactly what I want. Lisa looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. All right, let's do this. She opened her laptop and began typing. Over the next hour, we went through everything. I named my sister, Anne, as the beneficiary of my life insurance. I designated the children's hospital as the recipient of my personal savings. I made sure the house, since it was jointly owned, would default to Greg, but everything else would be out of his reach. Lisa drafted the documents carefully, asking clarifying questions, making sure every detail was airtight. When it was done, she printed the documents on a small portable printer she'd brought. She handed them to me along with a pen. Read through this carefully, she said. If everything looks correct, sign at the bottom of each page. Sarah and I will witness and notarize. I read every word. My hands were shaking, but I managed to sign my name. Sarah and Lisa signed as witnesses. Lisa notarized the documents with her official seal. It's done, Lisa said softly. This is now a legally binding will. I'll file it with the county first thing tomorrow morning, but it's effective immediately. I exhaled. A weight I didn't know I was carrying lifted off my chest. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you so much. Lisa touched my hand gently. You're very brave, Eleanor. I hope you find peace. She and Sarah stepped out into the hallway to talk quietly. I lay back against the pillows, exhausted but strangely calm. I'd done it. Greg would get nothing, and when he found out, it would destroy the life he'd been planning. About an hour later, Greg returned. He walked in with a cup of coffee and his phone in hand, as usual. He sat down in the chair beside my bed. "How are you feeling?" he asked, not really looking at me. "Tired," I said. He nodded. "The doctor said it could be any time now. I've been making arrangements for the funeral. I hope that's okay." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I felt nothing. No love, no anger, just emptiness. "That's fine," I said. He seemed relieved. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling. We sat in silence, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had the upper hand. He had no idea what was coming. He thought he'd won, but he hadn't. Not even close. A few hours later, my breathing became labored. The nurses came in. They adjusted my medication, made me comfortable. Greg stood in the corner, watching, his face unreadable. And as my vision started to blur, as the world began to fade, I saw him check his phone one more time. And I knew. When I was gone, when he tried to collect the insurance money, when he went to access my accounts, he'd find nothing. And he'd realize that I'd known, that I'd seen him, that I'd beaten him. My last thought, as everything went dark, was this: I may be dying, but I'm not the one who lost. I woke up. That wasn't supposed to happen. The room was bright, too bright. I blinked, confused, disoriented. My chest rose and fell, slowly, painfully, but it was moving. I was breathing. I turned my head slightly and saw Sarah standing beside my bed, checking my vitals. When she noticed my eyes open, she gasped, "Eleanor! Oh my God, you're awake!" I tried to speak, but my throat was dry. She quickly brought a small cup of water with a straw and helped me take a sip. What happened?" I whispered. Sarah's eyes were wide. filled with something between shock and relief. "You crashed last night. Your heart stopped. We resuscitated you. Dr. Patel said it was touch and go. We didn't think you'd make it through the night. But you did. You're still here." I stared at her, trying to process. I was supposed to be dead. The will, the plan, everything I'd done was based on the assumption that I'd be gone. And now I was still here. "How long?" I asked. "It's been about 12 hours since you coded," Sarah said gently. "It's morning now, Thursday." I closed my eyes. My body ached. Every breath was a struggle, but I was alive. For now. "Where's Greg?" I asked. Sarah hesitated. "He left around midnight. Said he needed to go home and rest. He hasn't come back yet." Of course he hadn't. Over the next few hours, I drifted in and out of consciousness. The doctors came and went. They were surprised I was still alive, but realistic about what it meant. I was in the final stage. My organs were failing. It was only a matter of time. Hours. Maybe a day or two at most. But I was conscious, aware, and that changed everything. Greg finally showed up around noon. He walked in looking tired, disheveled. When he saw I was awake, he stopped in his tracks. "Eleanor, you're awake." Surprised, my voice weak but steady. He came closer, but there was something off in his expression. Not relief, not joy, just confusion, maybe even disappointment. "I thought," he trailed off. "You thought I'd be dead by now," I finished for him. He blinked. "No, the doctor said—" I know what they said. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw it clearly now. The mask he'd been wearing for years. The man I thought I knew didn't exist. Maybe he never had. "Greg," I said calmly, "I need to tell you something." He sat down, wary. "What is it?" "I changed my will." His face went still. "What?" "Last night, before I was supposed to die, I had a lawyer come. I removed you as the beneficiary of my life insurance. I redirected my savings to charity. You won't be getting anything." The color drained from his face. You can't do that. We're married. You can't just—" "I can, and I did. It's legal. Witnessed, notarized, filed." He stood up, his voice rising. "Eleanor, what the hell are you talking about? Why would you do that?" "Because I know about Jenna." He froze. "I heard you on the phone. I saw the texts. I saw the way you smiled when the doctor said I was dying. You've been waiting for me to die so you could be with her, so you could take my money and start over, but I'm not going to let that happen." Greg's jaw clenched. For a moment he said nothing. Then he let out a bitter laugh. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't I?" I said. "Tell me I'm wrong, Greg. Tell me there's no Jenna. Tell me you haven't been planning a life without me." He didn't. He just stood there, staring at me with something close to hatred. "I gave you 18 years, I said quietly. "I loved you. I trusted you. And you threw it away." "You were never enough," he said coldly. The mask was completely gone now. "You were older, boring, sick. I stayed because I thought when you were gone I'd at least get something out of it. But now you've screwed me over one last time." Hearing it out loud shouldn't have hurt, but it didn't, because I'd already grieved the man I thought he was. "Get out," I said. "Gladly." He grabbed his jacket and walked towards the door. Then he stopped and turned back. "You know what, Eleanor? You're going to die alone, and no one's going to care." "Maybe, but at least I'll die knowing I didn't let you win." He slammed the door behind him, and I lay there, tears streaming down my face, not because I'd lost him, but because I'd finally let him go. Sarah came in a few minutes later. She'd heard everything from the hallway. She didn't say anything. She just sat beside me and held my hand. "You did the right thing," she whispered. "I know," I said. That afternoon, my sister Anne arrived. Sarah had called her. She rushed into the room, her face streaked with tears, and threw her arms around me as gently as she could. "Ellie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I wasn't here sooner. It's okay. You're here now." She stayed by my side for the rest of the day. We talked. We laughed. We cried. She told me about her kids, her life, her struggles, and I told her about the will, about what I'd done. "You left me the insurance money?" she asked, stunned. "Yes, you need it more than anyone, and I trust you." She broke down. "Ellie, I don't know what to say. Just promise me you'll use it well, for your kids, for your future." "I promise," she whispered. That night, as the sun set outside my window, I felt a peace I hadn't felt in years. I was dying, but I wasn't alone. I wasn't forgotten, and I'd made sure the people I loved would be taken care of. Greg never came back. I heard later from Sarah that he'd already moved in with Jenna, that he'd tried to contest the will, but had no legal ground, that he was furious, humiliated, and broke. And I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just relief. I didn't die that week, or the next. The doctors couldn't explain it. My body was failing, yes, but something in me held on. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was grace. Maybe it was just the universe giving me a little more time to make peace with everything. I don't know, but I was grateful for it. Anne stayed with me as much as she could. She'd sit by my bed and read to me, old novels I loved, poetry. Sometimes we'd just sit in silence, holding hands, watching the light change outside the window. Her presence was a gift I hadn't known I needed. Sarah checked on me every shift. She'd bring me tea, adjust my pillows, tell me stories about her day. She became more than a nurse. She became a friend, a witness to the end of my life. And somehow that mattered. One afternoon, about 2 weeks after I'd changed the will, Lisa came to visit. She brought flowers, white lilies, and sat beside me with a warm smile. "I wanted to see how you were doing," she said, "and to tell you that everything is finalized. Your will is ironclad. Your wishes will be honored." I nodded. "Thank you for everything." "It was an honor," she said. "You're a remarkable woman, Eleanor. What you did took courage. A lot of people wouldn't have had the strength." I smiled weakly. "I just didn't want him to win." "He didn't," she said firmly, "and he won't." Before she left, she squeezed my hand. "I hope you find peace, Eleanor, however much time you have left." "I think I already have," I whispered. The days blurred together after that. I slept more, ate less. My body was shutting down, slowly but surely, but my mind stayed clear. And in those quiet hours, I thought a lot about my life, about the choices I'd made, the love I'd given, the love I'd received, and the love I'd mistaken for something real. I thought about Greg, not with anger anymore, just with sadness. Sadness that he'd wasted so much time pretending, that he'd never known what it meant to truly love someone. I didn't hate him, I just felt sorry for him, because he'd lost something real in search of something easy, and that was his tragedy, not mine. I thought about Anne, about her kids, about the life they'd be able to build with the money I'd left them. That brought me comfort, knowing that even in death, I could still help the people I loved, that my life would mean something beyond the years I'd lived. And I thought about myself, about the woman I'd been, the nurse who'd cared for others, the wife who'd tried so hard, the sister who loved quietly. I wasn't perfect, I'd made mistakes, but I'd lived with intention, with kindness, and in the end, that was enough. One evening, as the sun was setting, Anne sat beside me and took my hand. "Ellie," she said softly, "I need to tell you something." I looked at her. "Thank you," she said, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for everything. For loving me, for taking care of me, for giving my kids a future. You've been the best sister anyone could ask for." I squeezed her hand as tightly as I could. "I gave you a reason to keep going. You and your kids. You reminded me what family really means." She leaned down and kissed my forehead. "I love you so much." "I love you too." We sat like that for a long time, just holding each other, and I realized something. I wasn't dying alone. I wasn't unloved. I wasn't forgotten. I was surrounded by people who saw me, who valued me, who would carry my memory forward. And that was more than Greg would ever have. Late that night, as I lay in the darkness, I felt my breathing slow. My heartbeat grew faint. I wasn't afraid. I was ready. I closed my eyes and let myself drift. My last thought wasn't about Greg. It wasn't about the money or the will or the betrayal. It was about the light, the way it had looked through the window that afternoon. Soft, golden, beautiful. And I thought, I lived. I loved. I mattered. And that was enough.